Hi, it's Kathy. I want to talk about how to plan a European vacation because I'm recording this before my trip to Italy, but I'm posting it right after. So you'll see this when I just got home from my second trip to Italy and my fourth trip to Italy in as many years. I've wanted to go to Europe probably since high school, since I was a teenager. And it took me a long time to feel financially comfortable to go. So I will begin by saying that before my first trip to Italy and for my 35th birthday in 2012, actually all four trips I've taken, I've paid cash for everything. I haven't paid interest on a single aspect of my trip, and so I understand that I'm fortunate to be able to do that. Not everybody can do that. I wanted to go for my 30th birthday, but that fell through because I wanted some friends to go with me and people couldn't afford to go, and I would have probably had to charge some things there. But between my 30th birthday and my 35th birthday, when I did afford to go, I paid all my stuff off. I got completely out of debt, 100% out of debt. And so I absolutely understand that I'm fortunate to be able to do that, and not everybody is in a position to pay off all their debt. And right now I'm renting, but I'm looking into hopefully buying some property like a townhouse or something in the next year. So I have some money set aside to hopefully buy a house. And I also have money in what I refer to as my short-term savings for trips to Europe. So as I said, for my 35th birthday in 2012, I spent 2 weeks in Italy. After Christmas 2013, a friend and I spent a week in Paris. The following summer, a different friend and I went to Scotland and England for 2 weeks. So that was summer 2014. And this is summer 2015, almost summer, late spring. And I'm spending 2 more weeks in Italy. And how I've organized my trips, well, first of all, if you follow my blog, you know that I like to organize things and I like to plan things. So it's been really fun for me actually to plan my own trips. But you definitely can go on a group trip or an organized tour type of thing. That's not my MO. I really enjoy doing the reading, doing the planning, searching on the internet, booking my trip. I don't want to take someone else's trip. I want to have my trip. And the #1 resource that I've used, I want to share with you, Mr. Rick Steves. He actually, I think he went to my alma mater, University of Washington, and he had a show on PBS for a long time. I'm going to be right there. And his show is national on PBS, so if you're in the United States and you get PBS, you definitely can catch his show. I think he also has their DVDs you can watch through Netflix. I don't know if they're on streaming, but definitely I've watched some of his shows through DVDs on Netflix. You can follow him on Facebook. He has a really great website with other tips and articles, and the forum is super helpful. So I'm going right here, Cinque Terre, and this trip I'm taking by myself, and so I was worried about having valuables at the beach. So I looked on the forum and searched for someone else who posted an article about being alone on the beach and wanting to go swimming, and what do you do with your passport, what do you do with your credit cards. Someone recommended a waterproof money belt, and I have one, but it's in a bag already because I'm starting to pack already for my trip, so I can't show it to you, but that was very helpful, and I found that advice free on the forum. And if I didn't find that advice, I could have posted in my own thing and said, hey, how do I do this? And someone would have written back and said, hey, try this waterproof money belt. So that's what I'm going to do when I'm on the beach. So I love the Rick Steves books. This is from my first trip in 2012, so some of the pricing is outdated, but for the most part, for my 2015 trip, I'm still using the same book. And you can see I've got lots of underlining and whatnot to plan my trip. He's got nice little maps and things. So if you're going to Europe anyway, his thing is Europe. So if I wanted to go to Thailand or somewhere else, I wouldn't be able to go with Rick Steves. But I highly, highly recommend his guidebooks. The first trip in 2012, I used, I think, all of the recommendations for lodging in the Rick Steves book. Then when my friend and I went to Paris, we looked through his recommendations, but they all were still a little bit more expensive than we wanted to pay because we're on a budget. And one of Rick Steves' thing is budget travel, so there are more expensive options, but he usually has lots of affordable stuff. But I don't know if it was because we were going to be there right after Christmas, if the prices were higher than normal when we were in Paris, but none of the recommendations in his guidebook were what we were hoping to pay. So that's the first time I looked into the Airbnb website, and we used Airbnb for the Paris trip for 3 places in Scotland and England, and for 4 of my places in Italy. I'm trying to count off the top of my head. I think it's, yeah, 4. And then one of the places in Italy, for this new trip, I got out of the guidebook. But so far, for trying 4 places through Airbnb, I've had good experiences. Then, of course, I was traveling with someone else, so this is my first time using the Airbnb without a partner traveling with me. So I think I'll be good, though. Also, language-wise, I've been studying some beginning Italian. I feel comfortable, especially having been to Italy already. I feel really comfortable with my beginning level of Italian. It's the first trip I took, there were 2 or 3 people who didn't speak English, but we were able to figure it out. With my small amount of Italian and their small amount of English, we were able to communicate and figure it out. This time I've been a little more intentional about practicing Italian through the Duolingo website, which is a very handy free resource for language learning. And I feel even better about being able to communicate in Italy. In France, I actually took tons of French through junior high, high school, college. I would say I'm pretty intermediate speaking French, and I was extremely comfortable there. I can understand French much better than I can speak it, but when I was trying to speak it, the French people were very patient with me, very understanding and helpful. I think it makes a difference, especially in a proud culture like France, where if you're making an effort to respect their culture and to understand that you're visiting them and, paying that sort of homage, I think it goes a long way toward them helping you. And just for me and my personality, I like to be able to communicate in the other language. I don't want to assume, I want to be prepared. I don't want to assume that I can be dropped in the middle of somewhere in, Botswana. That would scare me because I don't speak any languages in Botswana, I don't think. That's a bad example. I don't really know anything about Botswana. I don't know what their national language is. So to plan a trip to Europe, I would say first, the number one thing is the budget. So if you are comfortable putting something on your credit card, that's your business. For me, it took me a long time to get to the point where I felt comfortable financially to go, which is why it took me until my 35th birthday. But now that I have that financial stability, knock on wood, I've taken 4 trips in 4 years because that's a priority for me. I really enjoy it. I've been looking forward to this trip all year. I'm really excited about it. And to me, it's a wonderful way to spend my money. So first, to check in with your financial situation, how much you want to budget. Oh, and I'll say for all 4 of my trips, I budgeted about $4,000 total. The airfare, the first couple trips was around $1,200. This time it was closer to $1,400, but I think that's because it's summer. And I wasn't willing to cancel my trip over like $150. So I went ahead and booked it closer to $1,400. But I was getting around $1,200 for the airfare. Also, this is my first time, again, going by myself, so I have to pay all of the lodging by myself. So it's going to cost me a little bit more. But the previous 3 trips when I went with a buddy, I budgeted for $4,000 and I came home with money. So I think I'll still be okay this trip, just planning out, how much things are and booking in advance so that I know exactly how much daily spending budget I have. So I've been trying to book lodging for under 100 euros a night. Right now, actually, the exchange rate is the best of any of my trips. So my money's going to go a little bit farther. But it's about comfort for you. So some people when I was talking about planning a trip, they were like, oh, you can stay in youth hostels, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm too old to stay in a youth hostel. I want my own room. I want my own bed. I don't want people coming in at all hours or making noise and things. I want to be able to sleep in my room and feel secure in my room. So if you like the atmosphere of youth hostels and everything, that's totally your business, that's great. But for me, I wanted my own doors, my own bathroom. And then I made a list of the things that I wanted to see. I read through each of the guidebook chapters of the places I'm going to go, and I underlined other things that I wasn't either aware of or that I hadn't considered, and made my little itinerary, because I like to plan stuff. So I don't have, an hour by hour itinerary, but each location I have a list of a handful of things that I would like to do, and some of them have a star that I absolutely have to do those things, and then other things, if I'm looking for something to do, I can do that, or I can just wander around. One of my favorite things was in Venice. In the guidebook, Rick Steves says to get lost in Venice because, it's an island, so you can't get that lost. It's not that big a town. So I tried to get lost, and then I accidentally found where I was trying to go completely without the map, and just my inner homing pigeon found where one of the restaurants that was on my list. I was like, wait, this name sounds familiar. Oh, this is something I underlined in the guidebook, and we found it when we were trying to get lost. So that was fun. So I hope I've encouraged you to think about planning a vacation. It doesn't have to be to Europe if you want to go somewhere else in the United States, or try somewhere in Canada if that's a little bit better for your budget. But I love traveling. I'm so excited to go to Italy again, and I'm already kind of making a list of things I might try for the trip after that. So it's definitely, once you catch the European travel bug, I think it's mostly contagious. I think most people, once you go, you want to go again and again and again. So I'm excited for my trip, and I definitely will be sharing some pictures on Facebook now that I'm back. If you're watching this, I'm back home. And yeah, happy travels. Thanks, bye.